listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
All righty. Barnyard suggestions. Sounds a bit porny.
Thank you.
Joe Junior omelette. Well, I like that there's no ingredients. It's just Joe Junior omelette. Like, they're just going to trust me. I guess I could ask.
Are you done? Can I introduce the show?
All right. I thought I was, I was creating atmosphere.
He immediately delves into the menu improv, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not improv, we're just looking at a menu. Yeah, all menu looking is menu improv, isn't it?
You're so weird. When I want you to be loud on the show so people can hear you, you're not. And then when we're in an almost empty diner, which is fairly quiet, you're bleating on about fucking omelets.
It's because I have the same volume wherever I go.
Right, is that what it is?
I don't
modulate.
Exactly. I don't adjust to my surroundings.
Anyway, hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner.
Hello.
And on this episode, sorry, it's us again. We did try and recruit.
Well, it's always you.
Right, we did.
So really you're apologising for me, because to say it's us again when you are always the host of the show means what you're apologising for is me.
I was going to say, there's never been an episode of the show that I haven't been on.
Well, yeah, it's your show, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
And
that's quite a burden. It's quite a.
It would be a burden if you didn't merrily skip weeks without really worrying about it.
True.
Because such is the quality of your content that people will wait, won't they?
Well, I don't know.
Not ever choice,
when you say people, you mean the few scraps
that are left.
Yeah.
Is that where we are? Are we at scraps, or are we at the same numbers that we've always been at?
We're pretty much at scraps.
Are we?
Yeah. No, that's not true at all. Oh. We have a nice dedicated following like we always have.
Okay, see, that's what I need to hear.
They are the unvocal minority.
Right.
Meaning they're not very talkative, except Andy Lunn during Sleazy Spader Springtime.
Right.
And they don't really comment, they don't really rate, they don't really review, they don't really retweet, they don't really share, they don't really like. But they do download the show.
It's almost as if, as far as they're concerned, this is a podcast that they listen to, and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be involved in a social media harem of,
Why would it be a harem? I'm not asking anyone to have social media sex.
But you are, aren't you? You're asking people to thrust, you know what I mean, the diner knob into the ear holes of their friends.
What? No, that's disgusting.
Well, no, but that's kind of what. But that's how they feel.
No, but it's not. But you're asking. You're saying.
I am.
Right.
Yes.
That I want.
I don't know how you're going to put it.
But this show
definitely, yes.
And forcibly thrust it into their friends.
Yes. Their ear holes. Yes.
Well, I do want them to do that.
And that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
But less forcibly and more with a gentle tickle or a retweet occasionally. That's all.
I know. I think it's probably because we're weird, and people if they retweet, like, but people will know that I listen to this show.
Yeah, this weird.
You know what I mean? It'll be a window. Here is a window into my soul, and it's not a window that people want open.
Nobody wants.
They want it to be one of those windows that's like thick with grime that nobody ever sees into.
Are we like the dark corner of our listeners' soul? Are we?
Yeah. Well, a reflection of it.
Yeah. But see, people refer to it as a guilty pleasure. I don't actually like that phrase because I don't think you should ever feel guilty if you're deriding pleasure. Unless you're deriding pleasure from people's pain, then feel guilty about it. But outside of that caveat...
well, this is our pain, though, isn't it? I mean, we are flailing.
Oh, so they're deriding
in a fin de siècle society.
Wow.
Collapsing in on itself.
Did you just say fin de siècle?
I did, yeah.
Wow, look at that right there. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, here we are, thrashing around.
Do I know what you mean?
In an ocean of metropolitan meaninglessness.
Rarely, if ever, do I understand what you mean.
Well, I'm going to ask. I want to know what's in a Joe Junior omelette. I have to know.
My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, the mysteries that Jim Wallace unravels. We are in an entirely new diner.
It's a new diner. It's one more excited.
I've never been in here before, and it's
pleasingly old school.
It's delightful, and I'm not going to tell you where it is because I don't want it sullied by your sort.
By who? We've already established. Like, if they won't retweet, they're certainly not going to come to the restaurants we eat at, are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that is a different thing.
That would be a dream, wouldn't it? If we were sat here one night doing this, and then, I don't know, two, like, giggly, nervous people came up to the table and was like, wait, are you Jim and John?
That would be kind of cool.
The after-movie diner. To which I'd have to go, no, and then bury my face.
I would say yes, though.
You would probably say
I'm
yes
a bit
and go on about how wonderful.
I would talk about poetry or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. This isn't Jim, is it? Like,
Yeah.
No, that is me.
We didn't really.
Could
want to
you
talk
leave while we talk to him?
We didn't want to talk to Jim.
Yeah. People only like the podcast that I'm not on. All right. Well, I think I'm going to ask about that one. If I can't do that one, I'm going to get someone else.
I'm going to have to side with the ham, egg, and chips.
Oh, you're going to go with the old classic, yeah?
I am. I haven't had the old classic in a while, so why not?
Do we go up?
I just don't fancy a burger tonight.
That's right, mate. Don't have a fucking burger, do you? What do we do? Do we go up?
Oh, do you want me to ask?
Yeah. Find out what's in a Joe Jr. omelette. This is the silence of Jonathan Cross attempting to catch the eye of a waiter. A yawning waiter who is looking everywhere except at us.
He's come over.
He is? No, he's not.
He picked up his pad. I got almost excited.
He looked at every single part of the restaurant except our table. And he's still not coming over.
He's got busy things to do.
Does he? We appear to be the only customers in the restaurant.
All right.
Can I ask me a question then?
Yeah, go on, ask your question.
Hello, mate. What is in the Joe Jr. omelette?
Joe Jr.?
Yeah.
Tomatoes, onions, pepper, ham, and mushrooms.
That sounds really good. I'll have one of those, please.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have 2 eggs over easy with ham, griddle ham, and the French fried potatoes, please.
What kind of potatoes do you want?
Oh, home fries.
Home fries?
Yeah. And can I get a cup of English breakfast tea with milk, please?
I'm good with water, Chief. Thank you.
Okay, and the white toast cake?
Whole wheat, is that it?
Whole wheat or rye?
Oh,
Thank you very much.
you like butter on the toast? Butter?
Butter, sure.
Yeah,
Thank
great,
you.
Thank you.
So yeah, no, I think that we are, like you say, the thing that they don't want to tell their relatives about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that
Yeah.
our listeners,
Yeah.
if they are in a
Alive?
relationship,
Yeah. What if they subscribe to the podcast, they get automatic downloads, but they're just slowly decaying in a room?
oh, you're saying that our listeners are dead?
Yeah, they are literally dead.
No, I'll tell you why I know that is not the case.
And we are disembodied
When
voices in a grey, misty room.
Will you let me finish? When
Sure.
although that's pleasingly Fincher-esque.
Yeah, that's what I was going
No, when I upload the podcast
Yeah.
of an evening,
Yeah.
within about 2 minutes,
2 minutes, mate.
all the auto downloads, the subscriber downloads that are set to auto download, they all come through.
Okay.
And then we have considerably more
Oh, really?
that come through in the following days.
Oh, that's interesting.
In fact, if anything, what's interesting about our podcast is that our most downloads do not come in the first few days.
Oh, really?
It's almost like people are catching up because
Yeah,
our
I saw someone on Twitter like listening to our
that was who was that? That was Mr. Fiendish Fitz or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know that chap, and I forget his name right now, and I'm sure he hates me for it. Michael Fitzgerald, I think.
Yeah,
his
that's
name
it. I knew, I just didn't want to say.
is. Yeah.
Before we go any further, is there any chance you could take the popcorn from off the end of your nose? Thanks, man.
I have popcorn?
Yeah, it was a small piece, and you've been walking around New York, and no one, I can assure you, has noticed it was such a small piece. But it was hanging on there.
By a thread.
Yeah.
Or by a beard hair. Or
By a bit, probably, yeah.
Yeah, so Michael
Let's face
Fitzgerald...
it, how many years are we from hairs growing out at the end of our nose?
Well, I mean...
You know, like from here.
Right. Not long.
Probably not long.
Not long.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, so it's looking at the downloads recently on Spreaker. I've been perplexed because like the first week will go by and I'm like, oh, I guess that wasn't a successful episode. And then 3 weeks down the line, I'm like, wait, that episode now has 3 times the downloads it had in the first week.
So what's the most popular one in 2019?
I honestly couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, no, it's off your head.
Off the top of my head, I have not gone into that.
Of all time?
Of all time, it's still the Blade Runner episode.
Really?
Just because
all I remember is talking about how much I didn't like Blade Runner.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a hot take. It's a hot take. That's what people love.
Yeah. I like Blade Runner 2049.
It's like someone posted Death Proof and Vanishing Point on Twitter the other day, and I responded, Vanishing Point is excellent, Death Proof is self-indulgent twaddle.
Right.
And someone responded like, that's a hot take. To which I was like, nope, just an honest and, well-rounded.
So then people say to you, what a hot take. You don't know. That's just the way I roll.
Yeah, that's just me.
So what's your...
I think people assume that I go out of my way to come up with the hottest of takes, but no, not really.
Well,
you know me. I've been this way since day one. This is not
You've always been a hot take machine.
This is not an affectation.
No.
I'm not. It's not a hot...
Even when
it's not a
nobody
hot
was taking what you had to heat, hot take was still there.
Yeah.
So, what's your hot take?
Yeah, so tell us, what film did we
on
go to?
Detective Pikachu?
Yeah,
Pokemon, Detective Pikachu. What's your hot take?
My hot take is this. I can't believe we are in a situation of movie distribution whereby if you try and go and see even just a movie a week, you've ran out of decent ones by like the second week. So hang on a second. So
I feel like this is all Endgame hangover.
No, it's not Endgame. What? Wait. For me or for distribution in general?
Distribution. I mean, like I feel like people weren't releasing things leading up to Endgame and in the weeks following.
So this is the biggest problem.
Okay.
The biggest problem is that most movies that are coming out that are within the blockbuster Endgame Marvel Pikachu realm are all either young adult or
You mean, where's the movies for the middle-aged grumpy people?
No, I'm just saying.
No.
I'm saying if every movie you're going to release is some version of a good versus evil CGI battle, right? Then yes, your worry is how do we compete with Endgame? Thus, Endgame hangover. However, if you were to say, well, let's make a blockbuster movie. I don't know, stuff the cast with a bunch of people or whatever, and make it different than an Endgame, or make it different than a whatever.
So
then you're not having
the problem
to say.
that everything that we go and see, the lack of choice is because it's either...
I didn't express that very well where I'm tired, but I know what I'm saying.
No,
if you keep making carbon copies of the same movie, then yes, they have to compete with each other. But if you made variety of movies that could all stand on their own, even if you had one behemoth that was eating up the box office, there would still be an audience for the other type of film.
No, I agree with you, but I mean, isn't therefore the problem then? Like what we're currently experiencing is pretty much everything we see. Quite a lot of things we end up having to go and see because it's either movies like this or, I mean, it only seems to be like franchise stuff. Like Mortal Engines, Battle Angel Alita. Like we're living in a world where people hope those will develop into franchises.
Right.
Pokemon, they obviously hoping that develops into a franchise.
Right.
Thank you very much. So there's obviously
I mean, Pokemon's already been
yeah, but I think it's going to be like a movie franchise.
No, understood. But it's been massive for so many decades that really, like, if this comes out, does decent business, and goes away again, no one at Pokemon is sweating it because they've already made $1 bajillion over whatever it is Pokemon actually is.
So what did you think of it? The bits that you were awake for.
Oh, you noticed that?
Yes, I did. You know how I noticed that?
I snored.
Yeah, we're snoring.
That was only brief, though, right?
I did only notice it briefly. How long it was going on for until I noticed it, I don't know.
Yeah. French fries, ham, and eggs. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. Lovely. Thank you.
Do you like hot sauce?
No, I'm all right. Thanks, mate. Lovely. Thank you.
It's been a trend ever since we started doing this, where slowly the placing down of the plates or the glasses have become increasingly loud and slamming.
It has, yeah.
Like, it's almost as if, we say, oh, we're not recognized. It's almost as if, though, that the diners have recognized. Like, there's like a you know how they have, like, neighborhood watch or police watch or whatever between, like, bars and pubs, and if someone drunkenly gets into a fight in one bar, they're able to, like, radio another bar. I don't know if they have it in New York, but when I used to run a pub, they used to have that in England, right? Police watch.
Right.
Everyone has a walkie-talkie, and they're able to say,
Yeah.
don't serve this dude who's wearing, piss-stained denim jeans and a ripped T-shirt or whatever.
Right.
But I wonder if there isn't a diner watch whereby people have cottoned on
Right.
to what we do, and then when they come into the establishment or when they see us leave a theatre, they radio on to the next diner to let them know that we're coming in. Also, why is it just when we have the perfect recording environment, 500 people come into a...
Well, so here's my theory. My theory is that we may not be the only podcast that comes into their diner, and when they see a phone put down, and then people go, the trouble with blockbusters these days in a loud voice means they go, another podcast. The only way they bugger off is if you slam all the plates down. How many hipsters can fit in one place?
I don't know, but they're literally slamming into the back of my chair.
Oh well. It was fun while it lasted anyway.
Okay, so for the bits of Pikachu that I was awake for, which was, to be fair, most of it.
It was most of it.
I nodded off in the middle because nobody needed to be awake for that.
I got quite sneezely around the same time. We are quite old, I think.
I thought that if I was 8
Yeah.
and I hadn't seen any other films, it would be perfectly adequate. It wouldn't set my 8-year-old life on fire, but it would be perfectly adequate.
Okay.
And I also thought that if Ryan Reynolds didn't voice Detective Pikachu, and didn't make, a decent Deadpool-style joke every 5 sentences, it would have been awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it rides entirely on whether you like his, witty asides or not.
Yeah.
The After Movie Diner with John Cross will return right after this.
On Van Dam Street in the pouring rain, they watched his window with eyes of flame. Inside, time was getting short. Cigarettes were being smoked to extinction. He violently wished not to have to go to the merry gentleman in the street below. Deep inside, he knew nobody chooses the hour of their damnation. He looked at his dog asleep on the bed and softly scratched its dreaming head. Deep inside, it was shouting down the moon in a war of attrition. But it stirred as he quietly dragged his shadow down the stairs that sagged. Inside, his dog put its face to the window and bared teeth that shone like salvation. The tumbling glass flickered eyes of flame on Van Dam Street in the pouring rain.
Are You Hurtling Towards God Knows What? A brand new book of poetry by J.E.A. Wallace, available now on Amazon. and we've made it easy for you. You can click through the banner link on aftermoviediner.com.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, John Cross.
So, to be fair, while we were sat there, a lot of the people in the theater I heard, who were obviously way more well-versed in Pokemon lore than I am, because, full disclosure, going into this movie, outside of knowing it exists, I have absolutely no idea what Pokemon is, or why it is, or why it's successful.
Still not completely clear to me.
No. Although at least the movie does try a minute of exposition. About 8 minutes into the film.
I was kind of leaning on that Northern Lights, everybody's got a demon thing.
Right.
Which I now realise, presumably, he sort of ripped off Pokemon.
What's that? I think you've told me about it. Is it a TV show or a comic book or what is it?
It's a book. A book that I used to think was amazing. And then I read the follow-up, The Book of Dust, and it was so, terrible.
Right.
Just dismal.
Right.
And really badly written.
Right.
And now I'm doubting whether the original book was any good at all.
Okay.
But anyway.
Who was it by again?
Philip Pullman.
Oh, right. I remember, yeah.
He also hasn't written anything else since, which again is a bit of a giveaway. So, I quite enjoyed it. Detective Pikachu. I'm quite partial to, the magical high-tech city. Outsider comes to magical high-tech city and is involved in a mystery kind of movie. I quite like that.
Yeah, but...
And I did think, and it kind of lost this after the opening 20-25 minutes. But there were bits at the beginning, the way it was filmed, the way the car was driving through the hills, the way the camera's grabbing the mountains. It was very... I was using the 3D. It was really, it was really using it. Better than I'd seen. No, better than I'd seen it before. I was really impressed.
I can't say that.
Well, maybe I haven't seen that much 3D. I don't know. But I was really impressed with that. Those opening 15-20 minutes when the camera was sweeping all over the place and the kid was in the train. It was just...
The biggest trouble is that I don't know whether it's just, bad luck or bad timing on terms of release dates. Because obviously these things get written and made years before they come out. But, villain plots have become
Yeah, I did see that
so repetitive and so obvious. And the trouble is that they hadn't even set up a MacGuffin. Whereby it was like, if they do a certain thing by this time, they can turn back what's happened. Instead, it was just like, oh, you're a big, powerful Pokemon. Could you fix this? Yeah, sure, I'll fix it. Done. Next. I'm like, well, I don't know.
No, that's I did think that at a certain point in the movie, round about the time when that first battle happened, that's when it kind of lost me a little bit. I was kind of into it, and then the battle happened, and it was, I don't really get, this isn't really for me. I don't really get this. There isn't really any intrinsic entertainment value here, unless you give a shit about Pokemon battles.
Right. And also, I'm almost completely flabbergasted that on top of I'm going to have poison gas in my balloons, which is literally something from the 60s Batman show to the Tim Burton 90s Batman film to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, that they had that, and on top of it, they also had Pikachu can't get in touch with his powers right away.
Yeah.
You know, that as a subplot, I'm like, all right, enough already. I can't even hear myself talk at this point.
I can hear you.
No, I can't, dude. I'm drowning in a sea of hipster madness. I feel like their hair is coming over to choke me.
Should have gone over there. Really, it's fine. It's not any noisier place than we've been before.
It is, because it's so empty.
Really, it's not that bad, honestly. I do get what you're saying, but let me ask you this then, right?
I'm just saying that both the hero plot and the villain plot I've seen about 7 times this year already. Already, just this year.
But then, is there something where? Because I've been wondering about this for a while, right?
I mean, the entirety of Captain Marvel is like, when is she just going to use her powers? I mean, enough with heroes not having powers anymore. The whole point of being a fucking hero is having powers.
That's true. Although one of the things I liked about this movie over other movies is it wasn't an origin story. Like, the city was built, people were wandering around with monsters, like it was a fully realised world. Like, the opening half an hour, I liked it. I liked the setup, I liked the kid, I liked this big city with like monsters and people wandering around together and doing their thing, you know? Like, I really did like the setup. But then it just kind of lost its way.
None of it had any weight.
No, that's true.
The central actor kid guy was awful.
I quite liked it.
He was awful. There was nothing to him. And then the whole, like, I'm going to absolutely resist everything that's happening to me until about 10, 15 minutes in when I'm going to finally accept it. It's like, again, enough already. Why couldn't it just be that his dad went missing and he's like, oh, I want to find my dad? Like, why can't it just be that? Why does it have to be, well, you know, he's got to have daddy issues, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. What? Why? Right? And then it's like, well, you know, he's got to resist wanting to be with a Pokemon because when he was a kid, he really wanted to be a Pokemon trainer, and when that didn't happen, he just rejected everything outright, because that's what humans do, right? I'm like, no.
You're right. I wondered for a while, a couple of things, but relating to that point, I've been wondering why if, like, screenwriting school and screenwriting books and everybody being a fucking screenwriter, your character has to do X and it needs to have these stakes. It's like, it is, there's no point in saying it's not formulaic. It is, it's formulaic, you know, and it's fun. And so what happens, I think, when you have a mess of a film, right, and you tell me you've got 4 separate writers on the script, 3 kind of did the story, and that's the minimum, you know, it's been a mess. So presumably the temptation when you've got a mess is, right, we need to fall back on something. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, one script, it was about the father thing, and another script, it was about the powers, and another script, it was about becoming a Pokemon trainer. You know, they all had, you know what I mean? They all had like one big thing. And like, let's just keep a bit of all of it. You know what I mean? Because you're right. It was like, what was the payoff at the end? You know?
Right.
Because all he did, like at the end, looking back at it, at the end, all he had to do to fix the problem was just like walk over to a comatose old man and take his hat off. Like there was no danger. He didn't have to like sacrifice anything or have any idea or anything. He just like he had to wake up from being knocked unconscious or like hurled about there and walk over and take somebody's hat off. It was completely bonkers.
Yeah.
And it was all designed to explain away how Ryan Reynolds' voice was in Pikachu. Nobody gives a shit about it. Nobody cares.
Right.
It's like, you know what it is? It's fucking magic. It's Pokemon, right? Once in a generation, a child is born who can hear the thoughts of their Pokemon. Like, fine, whatever, I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just make this shit up. Make more shit up. It doesn't all have to tie together, does it? Oh, well, we can't have Ryan Reynolds in Pokemon unless there's a whole fucking backstory about it. Doesn't need a backstory. It's a talking fucking orange, whatever the fuck it is.
Right. Except that I presume, having never seen anything of Pokemon, that this is not usual in any way at all.
No. I get it, but you still. But everybody's already. By the time they explain it, by the time they go, this is how it is that Ralph voice is in Pikachu. You're an hour and a half into. They've either bought it or they haven't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But no, I mean, none of it was a mystery to begin with.
No, I suppose not.
It was literally, oh, there's a drug. It makes Pokemon go crazy.
Which led nowhere.
Which led nowhere other than, by the way, it also allows you to swap bodies with your Pokemon.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, that has the classic hallmarks of like a cut and shut script. Because it's like there's a gas and it makes Pokemon just go crazy and it's sowing disruption. And then they go, he discovered that when Pokemon go crazy, you can put, humans can go into Pokemon. Wait. What? Why does it? Because it was the weird phrasing. It wasn't like when they smell the gas, a side effect of which is they go crazy, you can do this thing. It's like, no, when they're crazed, don't worry. I know it looks like we've just shunted these two bits of the script together, but hey, trust me, it totally works. You're right. It's all. That's why the ending is so unsatisfying. That's why there's no stakes. That's why you see the fact that Reynolds is actually his dad coming a fucking mile away. Right?
And also, it smacks to me like a lot of these things do. Mary Poppins was the same way.
And what the fuck is with Cremon trying to be? What have you got Cremon trying to be in a movie for? And you don't use it. Not even a bit.
Right, especially when this was half made for the Asian market. It seems a bit crazy. But I've noticed this a lot, but that the not trusting kids or even young adults or anyone really with a slightly more complicated plot other than, this thing he's doing is bad. Is it really bad? It doesn't matter. We're telling you it's bad. Okay, it's bad. They have to fix it. How are they going to fix it? Magic. Doesn't matter. Like, whatever. Years of Harry Potter desensitized children not giving a shit about anything. Also, let me point something else out. If you're going to have this gobbledygook, right, that amounts to nothing, at least be consistent within your own gobbledygook. But they weren't. His body, with the hat on, is in the... First of all, he needs a hat to transport into the Pokemon, right? He needs a special hat thingy to transport into the Pokemon, right?
Right.
And his body doesn't disappear. His body's still in the chair so that the dude can take the hat off him, right?
Right.
Everyone else, when they go into their Pikachu... I keep saying, but when they go into their Pokemon, all their bodies disappear. How does that work then?
Right.
Even, and I'll go one further,
Go.
even if you go, oh, well, that's because the Mewtwo, or whatever the name of it was, when the Mewtwo does it, and you're not using the hat thing, but when the Mewtwo does it, he makes the bodies disappear. I go, I buy that, except with Harry's dad, the body doesn't disappear, he carries the body off. With Harry's dad, he puts it into Pikachu and then he carries the body off because we see that on the thing. If the body disappeared when he put it into Pikachu, the body would disappear, but he doesn't, he carries it off. Because he needs to save it for later.
No, that's the thing. He carries it off because we need to think for a nanosecond that Pikachu's like betrayed what? He's like, oh no, the bit in the movie where Pikachu like runs away, I'm no good for anyone, like that bit of the film. I'm no good, I'm toxic, I'm poison. I'm running away. You go, okay, but why? Because it's like, I'm evil, I did the thing. Right, but why is the thing you did evil? We don't even know what happened.
Right.
We know nothing.
Right.
So why are you running away being like, for all you know, right, you did the right thing. And given what the movie is we're in, I'm going to go ahead and guess that that's what happened.
Right.
It was, you're right, it was all over the place.
Oh, sorry, I was quite well. Thank you.
You're right, without Reynolds doing his bit, which was pretty good.
No,
without
listen,
the like
Reynolds
kid
is solid.
running around, so but there was no mystery to solve either.
No.
Really?
No.
All right, we'll go back 5. Don't.
Also, the big bad guy, right, had a massive out-of-town lab filled with Pokemon to experiment on, but instead he lets the purple dust stuff get taken to a underground battle fight thing in the city to test it out there instead.
And what test what?
Right.
Well, because in the script where the problem was the gas
Right.
that people are using to make their Pokemons more aggressive in battle, that's being developed in the illegal lab, that makes sense.
Right.
But if your MacGuffin gas is designed to unify Pokemon to humans, then you would want to test that by unifying Pokemon to humans, as opposed to, this is all very well and good that we developed a gas that I specifically instructed you to develop in order to combine humans and Pokemons together. But I'd like us to risk the whole operation by finding out, does the gas, when it makes Pokemon more aggressive, will they win at fights more?
Yeah.
Get me that information before we proceed.
Nobody cares.
We need to lock that down.
Also, can I point something out? This guy has made epic amounts of money, runs an entire city with his son, runs the news, runs everything, has made an epic amount of money. However, the city is peaceful, it's placid, people go about their time, everyone's fine, people are living with Pokemon, they're having coffee with them, they're having lunch with them, they're walking around with them. It's all very pleasant and happy and whatever. Your plan to like further complicate that doesn't get you anything.
No.
Because, hang on a second, if your whole thing was, well, wait a minute, my body is failing me, I want to put myself...
Well, that, I was going to say...
They just do that.
Yeah, but
they just do that.
That is draft number 23. But when you put draft 23 together with draft 17, what you get is you have a plot with his son's taking over the company, him and his son don't get on, he's feeling increasingly irrelevant. And then he's going to do this. So he's going to extend his life by becoming one with the Pokemon. Fine. I mean,
but then the son would have to rebel to try and stop that plan.
Right, but instead, it's like, no, he's not doing it for that. He's doing it because he wants Pokemon and humans to be closer together. Because there's a thing now, I'll tell you what, it's like, oh, you can't have villains just be evil. They've got to have plans that's like, well, yeah, I could see how, humans are Pokemons, but that's too far. You know, like, it's like villains are always like, no, Thanos, I get it, but that's too far.
But hang on,
you've gone too far there, Thanos, wiping out 20% of the population.
But hang on, 50%. But hang on a second. There was no, there was no opposition. So in other words, there was no there was no right and left. There was no one saying, well, I don't know that we should all live with Pokemon, or aren't Pokemon just meant for fighting, or leave Pokemon to the wild. Like, there was no politics to it at all.
Yeah, there was no, I bet it's the fat... No, you know what? I bet in draft 19, there's, a fat evil guy who's like, Pokemon should be wiped out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Pokemon need to be thrown out of the city. There's too many Pokemon.
Right.
And then they go, oh, poison gas, causing Pokemon. I bet that's the fat guy who hates Pokemon.
Right.
And then it turns out, oh, no, it's actually the guy that loves Pokemon the most. And you're like, oh, I never saw that coming. Fat guy was innocent.
Right.
But he's gone now.
Right.
His plot's gone.
But he wasn't even in it.
It's like you take...
But he wasn't even in it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There was no politics involved at all.
It's like you had 25 scripts and you took enough out of each one that if you strung them together, there would be a narrative. But nothing lines up.
No.
So you're right, at the end, it's just a kid who's got literally nothing at stake. There's nothing at stake for him.
No.
Walks over to an old man, an unconscious old man, takes his hat off, and then a magic space kangaroo, basically clicks its fingers and makes everything fine.
Right. Also, I'll point something else out. The beginning of the movie sets up this whole idea that he can't bond with Pokemon, right?
Right.
So you would assume that his character arc is that he's going to end up bonding with a Pokemon. However, hang on, when he bonds with the Pokemon, it turns out the only reason he's bonding with the Pokemon is because it's really his father in disguise.
Which is still his dad's Pokemon at the end.
So he's right. So he still leaves the end of the movie with no Pokemon. So even his character arc doesn't.
You're right. If anything, his character arc should at least be.
And at the end of it, wait a minute. At the end of it, his dad goes, "Go on, get on a train and fuck off back with your grandma." To which he has to then turn around and go, "Actually, I'd rather stay here." To which the dad's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you said that." Wait, couldn't we have just solved all that by you not buying a ticket to your grandma, sitting around a coffee table being like, "Hey, let's be detectives. Sounds good to me, son. Off we go." Like, are you trying to tell me, after everything they've gone through, that at the end, when they finally see each other, they still have this, like, unresolved pregnant tension?
It's because...
Well, they have to sit there and go, "Oh, I better buy him a ticket to go back to his Grammy's house."
Because I'll tell you what it is. It's the...
And then he throws the ticket in the bin. God knows what train tickets cost in this magical future. And this guy's a private detective, who, by the way, his biggest client is now a massive criminal who's gone off to prison. He has no money to speak of. And he's just throwing expensive train tickets away. What an ungrateful sod.
What it is it's like the equivalent. You know how many of Ryan Reynolds jokes are like, "Oh, they wrote that after they finished filming." Like that's something that fits into the bit of screen time where there was silence.
All of it.
You know?
I imagine he improv 2/3 of it.
No, but there's definitely bits that were like, "Oh, we've got 5 seconds of spare screen time there where like Pikachu's not on camera and he's over there. Let's write something quick for Reynolds to say."
No, but you're not telling me that the same screenwriters that couldn't even figure out one consistent plot throughout the whole thing wrote some of the jokes that Ryan Reynolds said.
No.
He wrote those jokes.
Yeah.
He said them, and then they went through and was like, "We can use that, but we can't use that. Can we use the joke about Pikachu peeing? Maybe, but let's just use it once. Can we use the joke about him farting once?" Like, there was none of the screenwriters who wrote the garbage that the rest of the film had any work to do on Reynolds.
No, I would agree with that. But the thing about the station was, because the kid's got to have an arc, and unfortunately you've just made a film where he has no arc. All you can do is throw in a quick scene where he goes, "I really regret not getting on the train and going to see my dad." Right? And so at the end, it's like, well, so he's got to have an ending where he chooses to be with his dad, and it's got to have something to do with trains.
Yeah.
But like that's about all I've got. It's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And they're expecting this script at 7. So what can we do? How about that was over there? That's a serious flashback.
No, what's okay, this is my other thing. This is why this doesn't deserve to be a franchise. They literally said, as long as it has everyone's favorite Pokemon in it, and as long as it has Pikachu being cute in it, it doesn't matter. Write anything. And I have no time for that lazy writing. It's much the same way as in the later Muppet movies. Disney's only thought is, as long as it has these Muppets in it, and as long as at one point, Miss Piggy does a karate chop and Gonzo falls down and, Kermit feels like the rest of them don't care about him enough. As long as it hits these 4 or 5 beats throughout the whole thing, that's what people like about the Muppets, right? Just write that and away you go. And it's the same with this. It's like people want, and it happened. Like the woman I was sat next to, and I heard it rippling along the whole road. But like people were sat there going, "Oh, isn't he cute? Oh, he's so cute." Like I actually heard people say those words. I'm like, if that's like literally all you care about, do a flick book. Like who gives a fuck? Like if it's literally just that this little yellow thing is cute, did you see that Ryan Reynolds put out a fake leaked video and it was actually just Pikachu dancing in disco lights? but they made it out like it was the whole movie, like he'd leaked the whole movie, but it was really just a joke. And as you watch the first scene of the movie and then fade through to Pikachu just doing like a disco dance in disco lights, just release that. Like, you might as well have released that. That probably cost them, I don't know, a couple of grand to do that. Release that. It'll make as much money as this will. Because nobody in the theater we were in gave two fucking shits about the fucking plot. And I'm sorry, before people go, but John, it's a kid's movie, and John, it's a built-in fan base, and John, you don't understand Pokemon, and blah, blah, blah. Before I hear all that garbage from people, I can point to any number of 80s movies that I watched as I was growing up that are just as inconsistent and just as based on gobbledygook as this is, but they succeed off their sheer balls of creativity and ideas and wonder and magic and everything else. This had none of that. This had a stone dead heart with no fucking soul to it whatsoever.
I might have to disagree with you there. I think that there was magic. I think that the city and the way that people were walking around with the monsters and that vision and the way they interacted and everything that was happening on the screen, it was very wondrous and magical. And I think that the world itself, like that city and what was happening there, would be for a kid like a magical thing, because it wasn't like everybody's a monster and it wasn't like everybody's a person, right? It was everybody's together and just doing their thing. And it's not like monsters are like, it didn't have that thing where it was like monsters had briefcases and it was all jokes like, oh, the monster's late for a meeting or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. They were just like fucking around being monsters, hanging off telegraph poles, skittering up buildings, whatever.
No, but can I point something else out? The only other two people we see...
The joy break is over.
No, hang on a second. The only other two people we see... Because this is to your point.
Right.
The only other two people we see who have personal Pokemon that the script interacts with at all is the police chief, right? Who says, oh, he may look gruff and mean, but he has like a heart. But then when he goes to scritch him, actually he's still gruff and mean. And you don't feel like they actually have any connection whatsoever between each other. And you don't really understand the bond between why they make this big point about having a Pokemon is really, really important, but they don't tell me why it's really important. And then the two people we see who engage with Pokemon outside of Pikachu, which is the police dude who is not close with his Pokemon at all, and then the woman who isn't close with the duck at all. She doesn't even talk to the duck when the duck is talking to Pikachu in the back. Like, she doesn't even acknowledge it, like, throughout the whole movie. The only thing she goes is at the very end, she goes, let's never do that again, when she, like, falls out of the duck. But, like, the rest of the movie, she doesn't talk to it. She doesn't worry if it's safe or not. She doesn't worry if it's going to blow up or not. Like, there's no point does she have any interaction with the duck throughout the whole movie, right? So you set up this idea at the beginning of the movie that having a Pokemon is super important and everyone needs one because somehow the symbiosis between Pokemon and human is vital for both animals to survive. But, like, we don't see any of that at all. And the only relationship we see where that does happen, again, it's because his dad is inside of Pikachu and not. Even at the end, his dad doesn't even, like, talk to Pikachu. Like, they might as well just be fucking, I don't know, holograms or teddy bears or whatever that they're dragging around. There's no character there. There's no personality there. Pikachu has a personality because it's imbued by Ryan Reynolds, who's his dad. None of the others have any personality at all. So this whole, like, concept about, like, you know, Pokemon and what they are and what they mean and what this city is and whatever isn't explored. There is no heart. And I agree, it's cute and fun and mildly inventive to see, like, the little monsters or whatever crawling on a telegraph pole. But, like, outside of that, I don't know, name a character that any of them have.
No, I agree. I mean, I think the problem they have...
They weren't even allowed to use their superpowers half the time. You're like, well, I don't understand. Like, none of this is...
But I think that's the problem. I think the problem is, because it's based off a game, right? But it's not like a novel or a film or a comic or whatever, right? There's stakes in getting you involved in that comic, right? You pick it up, let's say, right? And you know, there's got to be character and development and some kind of connection between people for you to be sucked into that world.
Right.
But in a computer game, right? If you have like a monster that you know, catch or whatever,
Right.
and then you develop it, you give it skills, right? You create a bond with that thing because of all the things that you put onto it, like
Right.
with a pet or whatever, right? Or anything, like
Right, it's
anything
like
inanimate.
those fucking, what were those fucking digi-pets people used to have?
Tamagotchi.
Right, it's kind of like that.
But what I'm saying is, so therefore, all of that intense close bond that people feel with Pokemon when they play it, I assume, is all down to if you decide to imbue something that you're interacting with personality, whether it's your cat or a cuddly toy or whatever, it will take on that personality. But you can't transplant that feeling into a movie where people are just walking around because it's not.
Well, you
Because it has to. No. But I'm saying, it can't just be like taken for granted as like you're saying. Oh well, of course Pokemon. Because anybody who plays Pokemon feels connected to their Pokemon. It feels like no, it's very important that you know, I don't know, symbiosis and technology and I don't know whatever. Going on. Right. So you don't have to sell them on it. But everybody else is like, well, how does it, like you're saying, how does it work? What the hell's going on? You can't, that feeling, like that personal connection happens when you play a computer game. Like that, when you're the one putting everything on there. The writing of, no, but I'm just saying.
But in the movie, they could have had them interact, they could have had them cuddle, they could have had them pat them on the head, they could have had them, like, say to them, not now, I'm talking, like, anything.
No, I agree. But the problem was that the whole script did this. When they didn't have an idea for something that they didn't like or didn't work, they just chucked it.
No, I get that.
But what I'm saying is they clearly came to a film that was a mess, and they took the bits of every single script they felt worked and just pasted it together.
Yeah,
All
I don't need to talk about it anymore, but yeah, I know.
Well, but hang on, because you're. I don't know.
No, I get it. I understand what you're saying. In a computer game, you can do one thing, and on a movie,
specifically,
you actually have to bother to write something.
Yeah, specifically what I'm saying is.
And they didn't even write her patting her duck on the head and being like, "Not now, go have a lie down." Like, they didn't even fucking write that. They just had it ghosting her around like a
I know, but that's what I'm
CGI
saying. Is that in order to create that bond, right, that people clearly have with Pokemon, right, that's going to require some work. That's going to require some imagination. And maybe they tried it on script number 15, but it doesn't. So they just dropped it. Like they dropped everything else.
So we're agreeing.
Yeah. I know. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
No, I know, but I'm just telling you, like, we're agreeing.
That
You're coming at me like you're arguing.
No.
Like you have some theory that disproves what I'm saying.
No, that's not what it was.
No, I know it's not, but that's how you were coming at it.
No, I was coming at you like I was coming at you like that because you very eloquently put together all that was wrong with the film, and then when you were done, you said, "That's it, I'm done talking about it." And you know, I wasn't. That was all.
Right, but like, say whatever you want to say. I wasn't shutting you down. I'm just like, I can't believe that I'm wasting breath even discussing it. Because all people are going to come away with is like, oh my god, I can't believe they fucking psychoanalyzed.
No, I don't.
Pokemon.
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong about that because what is interesting to me, right, is that when I was sitting there for the first 20 minutes, going, I like this. I like the world. I like that everybody's got their own monster and that means something. I like that this kid who doesn't have that and also doesn't have the connection with his dad has this weird, inexplicable connection to this quite funny little monster, and they're going to solve a crime together, right? So about half an hour in, I was like, the setup for this is great. You know, like you said, you don't even need to work that hard,
Right.
to get from there to an end of a film where the kid makes peace with his dad, the kid gets his own Pokemon, and the mystery is solved. That's fucking it. And instead, and I sort of felt like because there was enough, you know, whiz-bangery and stuff, that I walked out and thinking, no, I think that was all right. It wasn't great. I did fall asleep, but maybe I was just tired, right? But I still kind of enjoyed it. But it was only through talking with you about it that I realised why it was the way that it was, why it didn't work, why they have been allowed to get away with what is really terrible writing, like lazy writing and terrible decisions, and clearly, rescuing a mess. Like somebody came in and tried to rescue.
But I also almost feel like that first half an hour that I was quite enjoying as well. Like they set up the femme fatale and they set up the detective and whatever. I'm like, someone somewhere had an idea to make this a little bit of a parody or a little bit of a nod to hard-boiled film noir detective thing. It's mean on the streets of Ride City. Here's the neon-drenched coffee bar and blah, 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 right? And it's almost like a studio head watched the first half an hour and went, well, no one's going to understand this. Stop with all this detective bollocks and just have a lot of monsters. Because it does completely fall apart, and you're quite right at pointing it out. It falls apart at the fight. Gone are the days where studios, and maybe quite rightly considering it was a huge bomb at the time, but gone are the days where studios would take chances with shit like Dick Tracy or even shit like Howard the Duck and try and do stuff that was, that had an idea, had a style that it was going for, and stuck with it. So that'd be great, thank you. And stuck with it for the full movie. Instead of all these movies, and you can trace it back to like even the first Iron Man, which, the Marvel movies are fine, they're very good, blah, 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 people will talk about it forever, but like even the first Iron Man has a really great setup, really great character, about 2/3 of the way through, they're like, all right, just fucking ditch all that woman's in trouble, he's got to save her, this guy has a massive suit, next. Like it's and we've seen that repeated ad nauseum.
Thank you.
And I feel like if you go back to...
no, I'm all right.
No, we're good. Thank you. Just the check. And you take cards, right, sir? Cards, great. And I feel like, while that's obviously a formula that dates back to before Marvel movies, I think when I think of something like an Indiana Jones or a Star Wars or a James Bond or, a Never-Ending Story or a Labyrinth or a spit and hit your, 80s family-friendly action fantasy movie. While it has that formula, you know what I mean? Like, we have to fend off against the villain, we have to save the girl, we have to do whatever it is. I feel like all of those things I just mentioned found an inventive way that every time we then saw the same plot, he's just bashing into my chair the whole fucking time. You know the reason why people hate millennials? I'll give you 8 that are sat behind me. The way they wrote them, and the way they built the climax, and the way they didn't rush it, and the way they didn't sit there and go, shit, we need to get to the point where Indy punches a Nazi, or whatever it is, had just more pacing, more class, more style, and more thought behind it than the current ration.
I think the problem is that...
Because, Alita, Mortal Engines, all the Marvel movies,
you're right.
This movie,
wait.
They've all had the same thing.
I know.
Every single one.
You're right. I think the problem is that where once, if you were a studio head, you could expect to release, 20 films in a year, right? And you'd only need, 5 to break even and 2 or 3 to be, big splashes. So you could take chances. You go, that's fine. They know what they're doing. Some of it's not going to work. Sometimes you're going to get Howard the Duck, right? Where, like you say, there's a vision and they follow it through. There's no reason why that shouldn't work, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't connect, right? But it all breaks even, and you get to stand at award shows and be like the guy that did that film. Even though nobody talks about the 8 flops you had, you're the guy that did LA Confidential or whatever, right? And now,
That's a
it's
random
like,
pick.
I just mean, I don't know, somebody did like a mid-level, like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, you know. And now it's like you've got 4. You've got 4 films, right, for the year. That's what you've got. Maybe 3. Every single one of them is cost 200 mil. Every single one. They all need to make their money back at least, because at best, if they don't make their money back, I'm getting fired. At worst, everybody's getting fired.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, no, you're right, because then they're going, look, it just needs to. This gentleman won't work for Iron Man, so we're going to nick that because that works. Because it can't not connect. It needs to connect with people, or we're all dead. You know, so it ends up being a thing now where we go, and this is what's happening to us. Why we're watching Mortal Engines and the League of Battle Angel, and we're watching because we, you know, after the Marvel movie, I've got no interest in any of the DC shit, but after Marvel movies are done, what you've got is wannabe franchises, and they are all the same, and they all cost 200 million, and they all look spectacular, you know. And there's like something in there. It's like I can see why this was greenlit. I can see why somebody thought this was cool, but it's just been, as you say, like engineered to just death, where it's confusing. There aren't any stakes. Nothing pays off. You know, there's no real human moment. Everything feels, you know, constructed and engineered, but not in any way that makes any sense. It's not because it's not constructed to a vision. It's constructed to what's not going to lose money. It's not even what's going to make money. It's what's not going to lose money. Once we've decided that this film is going to be in cinemas, once we've passed that fucking line, like, then okay, well that's another 100 mil on the budget right there. So once it crosses that line, we can't fuck this up, guys.
It's funny when Disney, who have been going around the planet buying everything, literally everything, when they announced their slate of movies recently, I think a lot of people were like, oh my god, Disney owns all this stuff. Now we can have fucking, I don't know, Wolverine show up in Star Wars or whatever people fucking want. You know what I mean? Like they suddenly like, oh, they own all this stuff. Have Indiana Jones meet Han Solo or whatever it is, you know, and masturbate each other or whatever it is they want. Instead, what we've got is this long slate of remakes of their animation things, Star Wars like ad nauseum, 5 Avatar sequels or whatever the fuck it is, and then like a bunch of untitled Marvel movies. And like when they released that upcoming slate of the next 4 years or whatever it was they released, I wasn't like, oh yeah man, can't wait for that. I was like, oh, that's depressing. There wasn't like one title amongst it where I was like, oh wow, they're going to do that? That's interesting. Like every single one was like, well, we know what that is, we know what that is, we know what that is, and we don't want to watch whatever that is.
It is a problem, isn't it? Because I can't figure out if it'll correct itself, because people are going to get sick of it, and they're going to want, and all of a sudden, hey, that film we made for 20 million made 50 back. Like that's the only way. The only way it gets any better is that Disney. The only way it gets any better, actually, is by consolidating things, right? They're not going to want to go up against each other. They're not going to want Star Wars to go against, you know, X-Men or whatever the fuck it's going to end up being.
Well, what's funny is they've literally gone, well, we need a Christmas release. All right, 1 year to be Star Wars, next year Avatar. Next year Star Wars, next year Avatar. You're like, they literally, like someone just threw fucking darts at a dart.
Right. But the point being, if that's the case, and that leaves space, because all these cinemas now have like 7 or 8 screens, right? They're not going to go up against each other. And some companies like Warner Brothers, like, we can't keep throwing 500 million pictures that are making so much money. We can't fucking do it. It's not enough. So instead, we're going to make 5 pictures for 200 million, and that will space us out over the course of 6 months. Because also they need like stuff in the cinema, and plus, and even if they do go and see Avatar, like you're saying, there's enough people who want to go and see something else, just that can't get into Avatar.
Yeah, and look,
so there
there
may be hope. Is all I'm saying.
I want to say something. This year compared to last few years, certainly compared to 2016, 2017, I actually rewatched, or not rewatched, but watched for the first time at the beginning of this year a bunch of films that came out in 2018 that I hadn't seen in 2018, and actually they gave me a glimmer of hope. Then I've seen a bunch of films in 2019 that I actually will have a really strong top 10 end of year list that I'll really feel like some new and interesting fresh ideas came out in 2019. So I'm not trying to say that all is doom and gloom, you know what I mean? In a world where, you know, we got The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot, or a world where we got Triple Threat, or a world where we got Come to Daddy, and other films that we've seen, I do have hope. I do have hope that even the $1 to $5 million pictures, as long as we live in New York and we can go see them somewhere on a big screen one night, I'll have hope. That is fine for me. You know, what's incredible is I'm also currently the judge on this game show podcast called Dueling Decades.
I have seen that, yeah.
Where one team picks the 80s, one team picks the 90s. They pick hot products, news item, TV, movie, and music. They're the 5 topics. And then they have to like do battle in terms of pop culture relevance, longevity, money made, blah, blah. There's various different criteria that I use as a judge to kind of make my final ruling. Last night, I recorded an episode which was all about horror movies. I wasn't the judge on this one, I was a contestant. I had 1980, the year 1980, the whole year. And the guy going up against me had 1990, the whole year. Very often, when you're researching this, you have to like look at the whole year. You can't just go, well, this movie made the most money, so I'll pick this movie. You have to kind of look at all that came out. When just reading the list of horror movies, forget about action movies, sci-fi movies, comedy movie, whatever. Just reading the list of horror movies that came out between January 1st and December 31st in 1980, your brain explodes. The fact that we wait 5 to 10 years these days to get one decent like horror movie, good idea or whatever it is. There were 60 that came out in 1980. Now, going back to what you said, you know, 5 made a ton of money, 5 broke even, and the other 40 were like, oh, this was a decent idea and it'll have a cult following in about 5 to 10 years' time. But right now it only costs us $1 million to put out, or not even that, probably only costs about $400,000 to $500,000 to put it out. And it's probably made 10 times that 20 years since. So, but when you look at not only the amount of movies, but the quality of movies and the style of movies and the genre of movies that were coming out per year just 20 and 30 years ago, 30 and 40 years ago, and then you look at what comes out this year, it's you know, that's where it's really depressing. That's where it's really depressing. Because I'll end this year going, this will be the first year in probably 4 years where I'll have a solid top 10 that I'll really love. And that's rare. I could pick top 10 of just horror movies that came out in 1980, let alone 40.
Well, it's just, the other thing is that I would say that the difference is, and you're not going to want to hear this, but it's true. The difference is that it's flipped. It used to be TV was, in 1980, was no risks, just do what's been done a million times before, blah, 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 right? And movies was like...
No, I know what you're going to say.
And TV now, it's like, that's where they're taking all the risks. No, they are. No, because the zombie thing with... on Netflix, Dark Summer, Russian Doll, like these Russian Doll was like I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing, and it was totally bonkers. And if you pitched it to me, I can't even explain to you what it is.
I watched the whole thing.
Okay,
so I actually binge watched Russian Doll.
Okay,
right? It was what 8, 10 episodes.
Yeah,
right. Even that, which was 8, 10 episodes, I think Kim and I binge watched it over like 2 nights or whatever it was. Right. Really enjoyable. You know, I could watch Natasha Lenone or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
I could watch her read the phone book. She's really enigmatic and watchable, and it had like an interesting bonkers conceit that didn't really have a payoff, but okay, right? Even that was about 3 episodes too long. Even that you could have jettisoned like 3 episodes. And this is the problem. Is sure there is plenty of interesting ideas, strong writing, and different characters happening on TV. I 100% agree. The problem is TV is also suffering from the fact that everything wants to be a world and a soap opera and an ongoing thing and a blah 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 blah. Some stories that used to be, because this is what's happening. Like a Russian Doll is a prime example. That would have been made in like the 90s as a strong-ish 90-minute movie for about $2 million, would have come out, made $5 million, and probably would have been like a fun rental that year, right? And maybe would have garnered some kind of cult, following for the next few years. Instead, now it has to be an 8 to 10 episode Netflix series that, unless it gets social media buzz or whatever, except for a very small audience, sort of dies a little bit on the vine. But also, it has to be stretched out to like 8 to 10 episodes to make it worth having a series. And some stories just don't like hold that water, even the best stories. So I know what you're saying about TV, and I do watch a lot of what people talk about. I thought Mindhunter was great, but again, cut 3 episodes out of Mindhunter and just give me the second series a lot quicker. Like, I don't want a bloated first series and then I have to wait 5 years for the second series. So what I'm saying is, like,
I agree.
There is good stuff happening in TV, but to my mind, that I have as many problems with what's happening on TV, and there is as much, just because things seem more daring and interesting on the surface, there's as much contrivance, cliche, and cookie cutter crap coming out that just has a slightly surreal sheen. Some people are like, "Oh, this is interesting in you." Is it? I don't know.
Well, that's fine. I don't disagree with anything you say. It's just that that's where the inventiveness has gone. I'm not saying that there aren't.
And I agree with that. I do agree with that. I don't want to sound like a downer.
No.
That is where the inventiveness.
Hang on. What I'm saying is, right?
I was agreeing with you.
No, but let's take the 80s thing, right? For an example, right? If you made something inventive and cool in the 80s, right? Then you're right. The hour and a half running time works a better. I
Just
agree with
one
you.
very quick second.
Yeah.
It's not people went out of their way to make something inventive and cool in the 80s. It's that the mainstream stuff that was being made was more inventive and cool.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I mean, there's a certain amount of that that's to do with the fact that in the 80s and the 90s you've started to have enough money in special effects to tell bigger and more impressive stories, and after a while you just end up telling the same stories over and over again. That's true. But in terms of like the 1980 horror movies, right, that there was inventiveness there, and there was great stories, and they didn't stick around, they were lean and they were tight, but also there was, given the times, there were downsides to that as well. Like, there's a lot of misogyny, and why did that? Like, somebody watched the old films and go, did there have to be? Like the 90s particularly, is like, did there have to be tits? I mean, really, do there? What was the movie we were watching? It was like a 90s movie, and it was.
I would argue yes, but I cannot. I know why I would argue, but anyway, carry on.
But some movie, it was like a 90s, it was like a made-for-TV 90s movie or something, right? And it was, it was pretty good. It was fun. And then just out of nowhere, it was like, and now we're going to have like boobs for no reason other than the film has to have boobs in it, right? Otherwise, people are going to want to watch it because there's boobs in it. And it's just weird. So you have to there's concessions, like with TV. You're right. The concession with TV is they're going to be like 2 or 3 episodes too long, right? But in those movies, the concessions were like occasionally, rampant misogyny or whatever. I'm just saying there's
But I don't think showing
downsides
tits is rampant misogyny.
No, I agree. But
There is misogyny.
But there's a lot, in a lot of
But
those.
that's also to do with the fact. Anyway.
But there's a lot of that in those grindhouse pictures. Some of them there's not, and most of the really good ones there isn't any. But that was clearly part of the work.
Well, no, that was the nature of distribution.
No, I'm not saying. Wait, we're not. Here's the point, right? We're not disagreeing, right? I'm not saying that there's not good reasons for all these things happening. I'm just saying it's not that there's no more inventiveness in storytelling anymore. It's that it lives somewhere else, and where it lives, as you rightly point out, has its flaws, and they are flaws that things are too fucking long, and if you don't catch them, they can disappear in that like swamp of stuff. But it's not that but people are still out there making interesting shit.
I think it's more that when I watch something like Detective Pikachu, right? I'm not expecting it to be anything special, right? But when I come away from it, my honest one sentence is, it would not have taken Albert Einstein to make it 20% better with just a very simple.
No, but I agree with
So
you.
what I'm saying is, I'm not even asking it to blow my fucking mind. I'm not asking you to show me something I haven't seen.
But what you're talking about, that's what the Marvel films mostly manage to do.
Right.
Is get you from the beginning to the end with enough entertainment without pissing you off too much.
Right.
That you feel like, yeah, I got my $15 worth, right? And that, especially with all the executive producers, with all the
Well, I can't move my chair in anymore.
all the execs. That's what they're going for. So what you're arguing for, right, which is perfectly reasonable and definitely doable, you're arguing against someone who doesn't care about any of those things.
No, I know. I understand.
That's the problem.
I'm just saying that it's not like I sit there going, oh my god, this isn't high art. What I want is that vibe that you had at the beginning of the movie, where you're going to play up the whole detective element, and you're going to have it be a little bit like a kind of 1940s film noir, with like maybe him, at one
Yeah,
point.
there was a lot of lighting and right at the beginning there was lots of nods to that.
And at one point he says, we don't call women, what was it, dames anymore or something? But get rid of that line. Have him call women dames. Who cares? That's a trait of the genre you're doing. It's a trait of the genre you're playing up. As long as he doesn't go around and go hey toots, get me my dress. As long as he's not an asshole about it. Let him call it. Have a style. Just stylize it a little bit. If that's the thing you're going for, have that as a consistent thing.
I feel like it's almost a mathematical formula. It's like what Marvel do, which is you've got to give critics exactly enough that they can go, oh, I so enjoyed the way they playfully, made, did the film noir angle. Just enough of that,
Right.
but not so much that people who don't get what film noir is are alienated by the film. Just enough the critics go, oh, but then at the point when people go, I don't know what film, I don't really get, monsters, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what Marvel do so well, is they manage to give everybody 70% of the film they want,
Yeah.
even if two people on either side, the 30% that they're missing is wildly different. You know what I mean? I bet there's more people watching Pokemon that are pissed off about how few Pokemon battles there are. You know what I mean?
No.
We go, why could there be more Pokemon battles? You know what I mean? So it's that art when you're an exec with 100 million or 200 million
I know.
picture.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, we talked way too much about this fucking movie. Whatever.
No, I think we ended up having an interesting discussion about what Pikachu illustrates about the kinds of... Because the other thing is that what you and I have done since the AMC card thing, right, is we've almost exclusively gone to big movies, to blockbusters, because that's what the card fucking pays for. We're not going to the Quad or the Roxy or the Landmark anymore, searching out weird little shit, because there's just more. Well, why would we do that when we've got free cinema ticket for something else in our pocket? And maybe we have to rethink that. But I just feel like what's been interesting about talking to you about all this, particularly about Pikachu, which seems to me to be a perfect example of a film that, despite lots and lots of money and lots of writers, doesn't fucking work.
Right.
You know, because of all of the things that slowly over the past year or two have been driving us a little bit bananas.
Right.
Like, it's the same as Battle Angel Alita or Mortal Engines. You know, it's like.
But I'm more likely going to watch Alita again. I won't watch Mortal Engines.
I'm not going to watch any of these again. I won't watch.
No,
this.
neither will I probably. But I'm more. If out of the three of them, I'm more likely to put Alita on again than I am this or the other one.
I don't know. I'm not more likely to put any of them on. You know.
Anyway, thank you very much. I'm done. Enough.
Pikachu has done us in.
Let's blow this popsicle stand.
All right, well, congratulations. You have made it through a podcast episode where two middle-aged men with no previous knowledge of Pokemon, Pikachu, or any of that nonsense talk about a film that was clearly not made for them and get very angry and vocal indeed. Well done for making it through that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm not sure how you could have done, but hopefully you did. I apologize for the noise in the diner, but we were swamped quite literally by some of the most achingly hip and annoying millennials ever to grace the face of the planet. Unfortunately, I didn't punch any of them in the neck, but desperately wanted to. I'm going to be leaving you with another track from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures' upcoming electric album. This one is called Forever is Endless. I thought it was apt because that's probably what you were thinking during this episode. But don't forget that if you like the show, rate and review us on iTunes, you bastards. And support us on patreon.com/aftermoviediner. Thanks. Bye.